Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hi everybody.
Hello everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Mean Streets.
Mean Streets?
Yeah, not nice.
Mean
not
Streets?
Nice streets. Hey, some Mean Streets.
Is it a mean street?
Mean Streets is about
You gotta be like me.
Tony,
Just be sure and tell him to be here tonight, all right?
Michael, Giovanni,
Wait a minute.
Johnny,
You know, Tony, you gotta worry about talking about one thing and then zap.
and about Charlie. About Charlie who played and he laughed.
That is a good way to sum up this film. Listen.
That is the movie. That is,
Yeah.
Hey, these streets are pretty mean.
Yo, hey.
These streets are pretty fucking mean. Yeah.
Okay, so it's Thursday, so
It is.
I need
At some
to
point.
think. I need to thank a special someone. Big thanks to David Knife Boot Henson. Thank you so much. You gave us a choice between this and I forget what else.
Yeah, who cares? It's Mean Streets,
Yeah.
baby.
Mean Streets. Mr. Knife Boot, thank you so much. Thank you for being a supporter. Thank you, everybody. You know, a lot of love to
A
everybody.
lot of love to spread around. Yeah, that's
so-
one of the core themes of Mean Streets.
This is the 1973,
Yes.
I want to say.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese film. I thought this was post Taxi Driver. It is not.
No, it is not. It is extremely not.
The moment I looked at it, the moment it started, I was like, "Oh shit, this is old."
It's very old, but it's also fun how just extremely Scorsese it already is.
It starts with that fucking "Be My Baby" song, and I was like, "Really, Scorsese?
Yeah.
You're gonna be this Scorsese this early?"
Mm-hmm. Just straight out
soundtrack.
of the gate.
He's such a fucking hipster with his soundtracks.
Well, from what I was reading, but the soundtrack was just his own records. He's just like this song and this. Yeah, it's always like, it's either like the Rockettes, like that kind of like rock from the 50s,
Yeah.
or it's like the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, or it's fucking Sid Vicious doing My Way.
That's right.
Yeah. Whenever he rolls out punk rock, I'm like, oh shit. And it's always appropriate. For The Departed, I was like, yep.
No, he kills it. Yeah, he's very good at matching.
He's a hipster
music.
with his music.
Mhm.
Yeah. Which is a sign of a good director, I think. It's
Yeah.
one of those things I always told myself I can't quite be a director because I don't know enough music, which sounds stupid, but it's kind of important for a director to have that knowledge, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it. Yeah, I don't think it precludes people from being a director. Obviously,
No, but I think it's
definitely
it's like a
skill.
tool, you know? It's like you want your tool belt to be big and meaty tool belt.
Mm-hmm. Because man, these streets are mean, so you gotta have an equally mean tool belt.
Had you seen this before?
No, never.
Neither had I. And I assumed that it was going to be violent as hell and a bummer. And it was not quite that.
Not really.
And it reminded me that Scorsese is known for doing crime movies, crime dramas, but that's not all he does, and it's not all he ever did. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's done comedies in this era. So that's my first revelation, is that this is kind of a comedy.
A little.
Would you agree?
I wouldn't agree fully. I wouldn't totally call it a comedy, but it's definitely closer to that than like. It's hard to say because there's like Goodfellas has some really funny parts, and like there's always a through line of black comedy through through most of his films. I mean, obviously, it's not really in like The Last Temptation of Christ or Cape Fear. It's not really any in Cape Fear, but
yeah.
He does have, when he's doing his like crime epics, there's part of what he likes about it or at least
they're wise guys.
Yeah, and they're kind of like, they're kind of like bozos. They're not like super intelligent dudes or anything. They're just dudes that are in this business. So
it just reminded me kind of Guy Ritchie, and that the comedy stems from like a lot of dumb shit. Mm-hmm. People doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
And how did you like this movie?
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I liked it. Yeah.
It was interesting to watch, and I texted you this while I was watching it, because one of the things this movie is notable for, obviously it's one of Scorsese's, I think it's his first major film.
I think that's fair to say.
Feels like that's correct. It's got early roles from Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro in it.
They are younger than us.
They are
in this
stupidly young, and it's.
I did the maths. De Niro's 30, and Harvey Keitel is 33, I think.
Okay.
And I said that to Hannah watching, and she just said, "Sunscreen, man." It's true, because it's like people just looked older.
Yeah. Yeah, people just looked way old. I think we were talking about that in the Conjuring episode recently.
Right.
Or looking 55 in 1981 was being 97 in today.
Yeah, exactly.
So this movie, it's not like flat out, it's not quite as zany as Lock, Stock, or Snatch, but there's some of those elements to it. And it also has this really, there's a lot of tension to this film, and it's hard to tell how intentional it was, because the tension for me watching it was coming from waiting for Robert De Niro to be Robert De Niro.
Right.
It's like, I don't, audiences watching this movie when it came out obviously would not have any reason to be sitting there waiting for it, because nobody knows who he is yet.
That's the weird thing about this movie. It's a lot of these actors before. This is why I like watching early Scorsese, is because you're watching these actors still just as actors.
Yeah.
And they haven't
don't have
been
like
typecast.
personas yet. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this felt, I could feel the oldness of this film, if that makes sense, where it's like, I like it, but like I can see this boring the hell out of people. It's dated. It's a dated film.
Yeah.
Not the same way as like Goodfellas is, or Taxi Driver. It's more dull. He doesn't have the resources yet to do the things he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was surprising to me as how like mundane the story was. And how simple everything was.
Yeah.
And De Niro, you know who he reminded me of? Or his character rather? He's Ziggy.
Yeah, he is Ziggy.
He's fucking Ziggy.
He even looks like Ziggy.
Yeah, De Niro plays basically a fuck up.
Yeah.
Not a very De Niro role.
No, but he still has that menace, and he does a De Niro thing toward the end where you're like, oh, yeah. There it is. There he is.
There he is. For people who don't know, Ziggy is a character in The Wire season 2.
Yeah.
It's not like someone we know. Just the person who's their own worst enemy. They keep doubling down, burning bridges, doing the worst possible things they can do in any given moment,
dragging anyone around them down with them, like it's
in a way where you're like, that something bad's gonna happen.
Right,
to them
it's just a matter of time because
because
he's such a disaster.
Yeah, and even when people give them something,
it completely blows up. Like it's
And then they also have the quality of being mad that things don't work out. One of my favorite Ziggy moments. I know we're not talking about The Wire, but when he buys a pet duck, brings it to the bar, lets it drink, and then gets mad when it dies. Yeah. And it's like, it's perfect because it's like, you did that, Ziggy. You did that.
Yeah.
And you're mad that it happened.
Yeah. That's his entire character.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you did this. And that's De Niro in this movie. He plays a character named Johnny Boy. The first thing we see him do is blow up a mailbox.
That was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect
introduction to this character.
Yeah, I thought we were going to find out why he did that, but I don't think we really do.
No, it's just a thing he does.
They're also they're generic crime guys. Like, I never got a handle of what's the grift?
They're all just low level. It's one of the things this movie reminded me of is a thing that just happens a lot in independent movies. So when you tend to watch the early films of a lot of directors, it's particularly within this genre. I don't know quite how to articulate what I'm saying, but there's always like this sense of, you mentioned the story is real mundane. That seems to always be a factor there, and it's always like, you know, like one or two locations that we spend a lot of time in, and so it's like, just by virtue of your resources are extremely limited, the stories tend to become very similar.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is this didn't feel like it was very structured. Like, you look at Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which, again, these aren't the same movie, but they're both crime directors doing early work. And that one, you can see, just like this movie, you can see the early works. You can see how he's going to turn out as Scorsese. It's the same with Guy Ritchie, but there's an inciting incident. You know, like, it's, our neighbors are like doing a bank robbery. Is it they're robbing a weed dealer, I think, a weed farm.
Yeah.
And like, they're going to they're going to rob them. And so there's like, okay, group of guys, they're all kind of generic crime guys, low level. They get an idea. It spins out of control. And this, it's sort of like a very slow burn where it's just, it's Harvey Keitel plays, and I think this is the core of the movie, which we can get to, a very religious young, like, Catholic Italian, and he has a struggle in his head between doing good and being part of this, again, like, kind of generic crime group of friends.
Yeah.
He's going to own his father's restaurant, but it doesn't seem, I can't tell how plugged in his father or his uncle.
It's his uncle. It's his uncle.
Yeah, and it seems to imply that there's some crime stuff there. And
yeah, the interesting thing is, it's very much on the outs. It's like, it's Goodfellas from like the point of view of somebody trying to get in to that.
Yeah. So, and struggling with the idea of doing it.
Yeah. So it's like his uncle is a dude that's plugged in. We see them have like one or two extremely mobster conversations, particularly later on when Robert Carradine shoots David Carradine.
Yeah.
In the bar, and David Carradine refuses to die.
That's the stuff where I'm like, this is Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, that's
a guy
true.
Gets shot and tries to choke out the dude who's already shot him like 6 times.
Yeah, he just won't die.
And he won't die. And
they
that's
have
not
to run
realistic.
out the back and like casually walk away. Like they shut all the lights off and walk out the back and act like they weren't there.
And that's like not a Scorsese thing, really. Because like that seems almost unrealistic for a Scorsese film.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
It was delightful.
But yeah, it's their real, like, all Harvey Keitel's job really is going and collecting debts for his uncle. That's all he really does.
Right.
And basically Johnny Boy is his cousin who's just a big time fuck up and owes everybody money and never pays up and is flippant about not paying up.
Yeah.
And they have like two other friends.
He's told like, don't hang out with that kid. And then is it his cousin is the lady, the neighbor that he's fucking?
It's like a distant. It's like she's
dating.
She's Johnny Boy's cousin, so she would be like Harvey Keitel's like 3rd or 4th cousin.
That's fine. Is it? Wait, is that fine?
I mean, it's still a little weird, but I think it's distant enough that it's not like.
Yeah. That's not the conflict.
Anyway,
the
that's
conflict
not the point.
He's told to like stay away from her as well. It's the idea. I think the movie comes down to, for me, it's the idea of like loyalty and morality, kind of versus like ambition.
I think so.
Like it's this idea that his heart wants one thing and his brain wants another, whereas that it starts with him in a church and he's talking about, I think, hell, right?
I think so.
And he keeps feeling flames, and so he's scared of hell. And there's a part of him who's like, I just want to settle down with this woman who I think he loves her. I don't know. It's complicated. And that's one part of him. And like, he likes his friend Johnny, but his friend's shitty. And so there's like these, it's like kind of woven in where it's like he's loyal to some people.
It's hard to.
It's all.
Yeah,
he's conflicted. He's a young man at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And he's very conflicted about what to do. And then like everything sort of catches up to him.
Yeah. Wait, it's not. I think it's less that he. It's less that he likes Johnny and more that he feels responsible. Like it's a lot of. It's another. It's another loyalty
is a good
thing.
word for it. Yeah.
Like he feels like he has to look out for Johnny because he's family.
It's like loyalty versus faith, where it's like the morality, the good side of him knows like I shouldn't be around these guys. I shouldn't be doing this stuff for my uncle. Like it feels like that's what the whole fear of hell part is, where he knows the path he's going down isn't moral, but he doesn't know how to get out.
Yeah, or if he really wants to.
Or if he really wants to, yeah. And then there's a lot of stuff where it's like, you can't hang around these people. And that's another conflict. And then there's his love interest, and he's not supposed to be around her either. And then at the end, they're kind of going to leave, and then shit gets complicated.
Yeah.
You know what I really wanted, and I know there's no way for this to have happened.
What's that?
In that ending car scene, instead of what happens, Batman. Just Batman shows up. I really wanted Batman in this, because they're like Batman villains, right? Like low-level goons.
I mean, they're the kind of guys that would be like, "It's the Bat," you know?
Yeah, I really want a story like a Scorsese type story about low-level goons in Gotham, and then it just gets interrupted at the end by Batman. And then he shows up and he puts them all in a coma.
Right.
This doesn't have to be about Batman, but
instead of the baptism montage in The Godfather, it's a montage of Batman just beating the Christ out of all the people we've seen in the movie up to that point.
Just sudden Batman.
And just all of a sudden, here's fucking Batman.
Yeah. They don't even tell you that this is a Batman movie.
Yeah.
You just have to learn it. Anyway. We should probably go through the plot, but again, there's no it didn't feel like there was an inciting incident. You know what I mean?
Not really. It's like they talk a little bit about like the impending festival, which is, I think it's Halloween, because they mention it's the season of the witch a few times, which apparently was the original title of the film.
Oh, but I'm glad that went to another movie.
And like there's a scene where like there's clearly people having a big party in an apartment building across the street. So it seems like but even that we don't get a sense of really why that matters. Like they mention it a few times, like, oh, this season always bugs me. I hate it when the festival comes around. But like why? I don't know. It just kind of starts. You're right. It just like throws us in the middle of here's this guy's life that's already in action.
There was a lot of several times in this movie I was like, am I lost? And I checked Wikipedia and it was like, no, that's just the things that happen. Far.
Well, and there's two elements. You mentioned that it's dated, and there's two filmmaking things that are in this movie. One of which is it's just a thing that's not done anymore. So it read as extremely confusing, and that is there's two different narrators. And they're two different voices, and they're supposed to be, it's all still supposed to be Harvey Keitel's character, but that is never clear. So you're hearing this other person narrate, who I found out is Scorsese. He's doing the narration and that stuff. But it's supposed to be the voice of like Harvey Keitel's morality, and it just does not read. So it's like, what the fuck is this narration? I'm so confused. Who is talking?
Yeah. I do like playing with that idea. I mean, like Goodfellas does that where they swap the narrator.
Right, but it's clear. You know, it's
clear, yes.
I'm not talking about the narration as a device. I'm just this particular implementation of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, the way it's done, too, is that it's a very calm voice. And I kept thinking, like, oh, is this like someone... Yeah. Is this like a voiceover from another scene that we're going to see?
It's just not clear, yeah.
Yeah. And I got the idea. But you're right.
I had to read that. I was like, I don't understand what this narration is, because that is not Harvey Keitel's voice.
See, I didn't even identify it as not his voice. I was just like, oh, he's like doing a thing, I guess. I don't know. Because it sounds calmer than his voice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is an inner monologue. But it is done in this very, like, it's very it's not something you see anymore.
No. And there's a continuity error that is, that happens, like whatever. But because of who the director is and the genre that this is, for a second, I was confused as to, okay, wait, is this movie not told in sequence? Like what? It's right. There's a scene where when Michael and Tony, who are the other two main characters, rip those kids off. The fireworks.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
The Ramones show up to buy some heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, you got any firecrackers?
You got any fireworks?
Like, look at these dirt bags.
Yeah. And they're just like, we got $25. They're like, sweet, let's go to the movies.
Yeah.
But like Tony's hand is bandaged in that scene, and it's from the later scene when they get into a big fight in the pool hall.
I loved that pool hall fight.
It's great.
Because that's again very Guy Ritchie, where it's like it just escalates, right. And then it happens again after.
Yeah, and it's so sloppy, and everyone looks dumb, and it's just nobody looks cool. Yeah, it's supposed to be funny. It's just this big sloppy, stupid brawl. But that's where he hurts his hand, and it's just in editing they just decided they just decided to move that scene earlier. But like, so for a second I was like legitimately confused. It's like, oh, is this like a Pulp Fiction situation? Like,
right? It's a confusing movie for the reasons you're outlining now, and then also the fact that the movie never really begins.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a story or an inciting incident. It's just like
no. It's a series of moments.
Yeah, it's counting down basically until Johnny Boy digs himself into a hole that he can't get out of.
Right, and it's not even that. I mean, and this is very Scorsese. It's very a lot of things where his gambling debts are kind of a background thing. Like, it's going to come up.
Yeah.
But it's like this guy hangs around and he's like, where is he? And he's really disrespectful to him. And you get that feeling of like, yeah, this motherfucker's going to show up with a gun at some point because they just keep shitting on this one guy.
Yeah.
Who doesn't seem particularly he doesn't seem not dangerous, Like,
yeah, he's not like a
coward.
No, it's kind of interesting because he's not like, he doesn't seem like he's not dangerous, but he's not like especially menacing because he's one of the four core group of friends in the movie. It's just like,
right,
as they keep getting together and De Niro keeps just pissing in his face every time he asks for the money that he fucking owes him.
Right,
it just gets more and more like, you're like, fuck, like, yeah, he's gonna fucking come back with a gun.
Yeah, he's gonna come end the whole fucking movie for everyone. And I think during when this came out, maybe that was less of a cliche. It's not even a cliche now.
No.
But they, you kind of know the idea that movies love to do this, where there's like a side character that is going to come up at some point.
Did you happen to notice? What happens basically is Johnny keeps pissing in this guy's Michael's face for so long.
Meanwhile,
to the point where he ends up shooting him in the end. Obviously.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Harvey Keitel is struggling he's the main character. He's struggling with all of this. He's it's the third cousin neighbor that they're stupping.
Yeah.
And he's sort of kept it secret. Johnny Boy finds out about it. And then at the end, Johnny Boy's fucked up so many times that they're like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah, we need to just get you out of New York.
Yeah. And so they get in the car, and I keep forgetting the character's name, but she is like, I'm coming.
Teresa is the cousin.
Teresa. Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm coming with you. Fuck that shit. You don't want me to come? I'm coming anyway.
Well, it's interesting,
and that's when the Batman should have jumped on the car.
Yeah.
But instead, what were you going to say?
It's the first time that he relents, because there's a few times earlier in the movie where Teresa's trying to put her foot down and be like, no, I'm going to come, and he has to be like, you really can't come to this because this is like dangerous. And then in this scene, he finally relents because it seems like he's finally like, fuck it, I'm just going to leave with these. These are the people I care about. I'm just going to leave with these people. So he finally agrees to let her come with.
Right, and they have this moment of happiness in the car.
Yeah.
Where, like, they're getting out. Like, they're just going to
And they even break the narration, which I thought was a fun gag to do.
Yeah.
Because he does the inner monologue again, but for the first time we see Harvey Keitel and he's speaking it diegetically, and then the other characters react. Like De Niro's like, the fuck are you talking to yourself?
Yeah. Which is great because what that symbolizes is that this character is becoming open.
Yes. And he's taking control. He's integrating both of those personalities in his mind. It's now one voice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that alone would have, like, I think you could have ended it there.
You could have. Yeah.
And he kind of does the Clerks ending, the Clerks original ending, where so they're driving, and he sort of has to because of where we're at in the story. He's been
building to it, so yeah.
Yeah, and a car pulls up, and the sequence is really fascinating because it's disorienting in the same way it would be for the characters because they're playing the music, and like the music doesn't stop because he's shooting.
No.
And they're confused. And the shots are kind of quick, and you're like, it shows the chaos of the moment.
Yeah.
Because the car shoots at the other car. You're not quite sure who's hit. I mean, Johnny Boy
definitely
seems
gets
like he's been hit.
Neck, yeah.
But you're not sure who else.
Yeah.
The car skids out, crashes, and that's when the music ends, because that's where it would end.
Yeah.
And then the ending is basically just him getting dragged out by the ambulance. And Johnny Boy is wandering down the street, right? Presumably to die.
Yes, but we don't see him die, so it could be. It's interesting. It's almost the exact same thing that happens to him in Taxi Driver. With the same level of sort of ambiguity. Although I think Taxi Driver is a little less ambiguous. It's pretty clear that Travis Bickle's not dead at the end of that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's like they get into
this
the
is
accident.
Like we don't see him die, but like motherfucker got shot in the neck.
He got shot in the neck. Keitel got shot in the hand. It doesn't look like Teresa got shot, but she's busted up by we see that she's alive. They walk her out of the car. And
I think the implication is this is going to suck them back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The implication is this is what happens when you try to leave.
Right, and it's going to create a cycle of revenge and
yeah. And did
like
you happen
the
to notice?
Going to get involved.
Did you happen to notice who? It's Michael who does it, the friend that De Niro kept pissing off. But he's driving and he has a trigger man in the back seat. Did you notice who the trigger man is?
No,
it's Scorsese.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah,
he loves being in his movies at this point.
His mom shows up too. When Teresa has a seizure, there's a subplot about Teresa having epilepsy, and she has a seizure in one scene, and one of the random old Italian neighbors shows up to help, and it's just Scorsese's mom.
Scorsese mom, yeah. That makes sense. It's like that feels like a symptom of being an early filmmaker. Yeah, where you put yourself in it, you put your family in it,
your friends. Yeah.
I don't like how much I'm matching this up with Clerks now.
No, I had the same thought, like watching this movie, because it's a straightforward story where a lot of events are happening in the background, but we're just hearing about it, and that's because it's a limitation of the resources. It's primarily takes place in that bar.
Right.
Watching it, I was just like, yeah, this is Scorsese's Clerks.
It is. Well, if I was like writing an article about this, like there's so many more things you could say. It's both parents show up, both the directors show up in unspeaking roles, sort of.
I think Scorsese has a line or two because he's kind of Michael's trigger man throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's about a straight-laced guy who just wants to get out of this with his jackass friend who keeps fucking things up for him. Like, it's very Clerks.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's a weird realization. And then it ends with the shooting.
Sure
which
does.
is the original ending of Clerks. That is weird. That is weird to me. But it very much is Scorsese's Clerks.
Yeah.
I don't know how to reconcile that in my brain.
I don't know. I don't know that we can.
Yeah. I love when De Niro's just shooting a gun on the roof. That was very Ziggy of him.
Yeah, and then he just throws because he keeps making these little bombs. He just throws one over there. He shoots into a woman's apartment, and we hear her scream. And he's like, I'm sorry, lady. I really didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I definitely. All right, I want to talk about the wise guy aspect, because we said this at the intro. This really is, and I think it's on purpose, like a cartoonish portrayal of Italian Americans. It's a lot of like overlapping.
Yeah.
It's over the top.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Well, I mean, every Scorsese movie pretty much, like he tends to portray, or he likes to get into demystifying mobsters, because it's just like, they're just, they're just bozos who got lucky in crime. I mean,
right, exactly.
They're still going to laugh at the same dumb things that we all laugh at.
Yeah.
And they're still going to make dumb mistakes.
The evolution of mob stuff, because you didn't watch The Sopranos, did you?
No, only the first season. Yeah, I need to go back and watch it.
Yeah. One of my favorite threads is that they themselves reference mob movies, because they're clearly playing it up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Of course they would.
Yeah.
There's a part where a character gets made, the ceremony and stuff, and they purposefully make him think he's getting killed. Like as a joke. Yeah, exactly. As a gag. They're not talking to him, they're being really serious, they're bringing him to this room, and he's terrified, and it's like, oh yeah. It's stuff like that where they're like playing off of it.
It makes it funny, because when I saw the Untouchables for the first time, I had already seen a bunch of Scorsese mob movies.
Oh yeah.
And the Untouchables goes the exact opposite direction, where Brian De Palma makes the mafia like impenetrable and terrifying and like mysterious. Right. They're played almost like monsters in Untouchables. It's effective and it's done well and it's a good idea to do. It just struck me as funny when I saw it, because I was so used to like the Scorsese version, which is like, they're not vampires, they're just a couple of assholes with guns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's something scary. I always find mob movies scary because of the way they kill people.
Yeah, it's so
It's
sudden.
so abrupt.
It's abrupt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if that's reality or not.
Well,
it's just Scorsese's very good at making it scary like that, and The Sopranos did that too.
Yeah,
where it's like things can turn, or like they'll lure you in with the intent, to the point that it's like a horror movie moment where in Goodfellas, where he's like, "Yeah, go down there, get some coats."
Yeah,
and she's like, "Nope."
Yep, probably shouldn't do that. Yeah,
yeah.
From what because Goodfellas is based on the Henry Hill's book, and The Irishman is based on Frank, I forget his name, that guy's book. Like, that's been a pretty, for all these former gangsters who have done memoirs and stuff, that's been a pretty constant thing that they agree on, is that when somebody gets killed, it is very sudden, and it's usually one of those kinds of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what surprised me the most about this movie, is that this isn't really a mob movie. Like you said, it's people on the outside.
Yeah.
So they're on the edges, they're on the fringes. So like it's more like a buddy movie.
It's like four friends trying to break in to the underworld in New York City, and it's like Tony, one of the characters, he just runs a bar, and it seems like he goes with them on like their collection stuff, and he does like some low-level scams with Michael, but he doesn't really seem like that into it. And then you got Michael, who's doing like low-level fencing, and then you've got, I don't know what the hell Johnny's doing. He's just doing whatever.
He's doing what's in his heart.
And then you got Harvey Keitel, who's like the most respectable, and like, he has like the actual suits, but really all he's doing is going around town collecting his uncle's debts. And then there's literally a scene where he has to like put his ear to the door of the bathroom to like listen in to his uncle's mob conversation.
Right.
Like, that's like they're a bunch of kids basically on the outside, like trying to play grown-ups is the vibe.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't go great.
No, it does not.
You forget that they're supposed to be a bunch of kids because they look fucking 50.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it wouldn't be a 70s Scorsese film without incredibly problematic characters in the mix. Some N-words.
It did all right for a while. Like, it did all right for a while. Like, half of the movie, I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. And then...
Then the moment a gay character shows up, I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
It's like, it's like seeing a kid on a unicycle. You're like, oh shit, and you're like, you start like bracing.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
They make the gay character, I guess I want to say likable, but it's a problem with a lot of early LGBT portrayals. Is that they're like oddly horny?
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Like, I had that thought, and here's the thought that I had, and I'm not the person to speak on this issue. It's just, it was, you still had to really, really not be public about it. So, like, and the character's supposed to be kind of shit-faced. So it's like the stuff that he normally has to like keep a pretty firm lid on. Now he's letting out. That's how I interpreted it. I'm not sure how accurate it is to real life. Obviously, I can't speak to that experience. But yeah, I thought maybe that might be a reason for it. But, I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, here's the thing is that I don't need to make excuses
exactly
for early Scorsese.
Nope.
Because it is problematic.
It is problematic. Yeah.
It is known as being problematic.
Yes.
Like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I get when like a character is racist.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they're going to say racist shit.
Yeah.
But it's more like with early Scorsese, it's like casual racism.
That's
and
the
again,
issue,
it's like, yeah, and you could argue like that is how they would talk. And it's like, yeah, but I want to like them.
Yeah,
like I want to like the characters.
You're already challenging us enough that they're like in a lot of these movies, they're like gangsters and murderers and shit. Like they're not always these charming, likable characters that are just kind of like rascals. Like sometimes they're doing some real serious crimes. So it's like you're already
and also,
yeah.
It's a movie.
Yeah,
just you can change what the characters say.
Like I don't need it to be 100% true to life.
But it's definitely just of its time.
Yeah, it's of its time for sure.
But it's very like oof.
I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing like
This
early
era,
Tarantino. That's for sure.
Oh Christ. Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. They all think they're fucking, I don't know, gritty.
They're so cool. And like, what was that goddamn movie we watched, Pool Hall Junkies? Where like the opening scene is the main character who's also the writer-director just throwing a bunch of hard R N-words in there.
Yeah. And it's like, what is the point
Glenn
of this?
Plummer's face. And it's just like, why is this how we're introduced to this character?
Right. It's like, are you just trying to be the coolest guy in the dorm?
Like,
what, who are you impressing with this shit?
It's such a fucking open mic thing to do. Like, this is like fucking open mic comic trying to get some heat.
It's real
like,
edgelord
just
bullshit.
Don't fucking say that. How about that? Yeah, it's some real edgelord bullshit. Anyway.
Yeah. This is like, this is like, it also goes into the idea of like a gay man in movies at this time was like seen as funny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's automatically a comic relief characters just because they are gay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a series of like, oh Christ.
It's a series of things that were problematic in movies at the time.
Yeah.
Just unleashed on us.
Unleashed. And it's just like a shotgun blast.
But not as bad as it could have been, I suppose.
No, again, it was literally like it was like visiting like a racist old relative where you leave and you're like, that could have gone worse.
Yeah, that could have been more racist. That's all right.
You're like sweating the whole time and you're like, geez, what are you gonna do, Scorsese?
What is I can't
still bad.
Oh, I'm thinking of the it's like I'm thinking of the Lisa's wedding episode where Homer says something to her fiance's parents, and he's like, "Oh, well, that wasn't that bad."
I think it was Octopussy. I must have seen that movie twice.
And he's like, "Well, that wasn't that bad."
Yeah, that was perfect. I want to talk about the fact that one of my favorite scumbag cliches. One of them has a tiger.
A tiger.
The tiger scene. Is it a tiger? What's in that cage? It looked like a tiger. That was a pit bull?
It was a pit bull.
Oh, it was so bad. Ah, damn it. I hoped it was a tiger.
Yeah.
It was so briefly seen. It was very cute. This was branching into my most favorite cliche, which is wise guys versus nature. Which you only see a few times.
Yeah.
Sopranos has a classic,
the Pine Barrens,
but but this like them just nervous about this fucking animal.
Yeah, none of them want to be around it.
Yeah,
They're just like nope.
Yeah, for people who don't know, the Pine Barrens episode of Sopranos basically is a whole episode devoted to these guys are scary. You know what's scarier? The woods.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
And they go to kill this guy and he gets away. And he's like this weird, quiet Russian guy who clearly knows the woods. And so it's just two wise guys in like suits trying to live in the woods. And they're like trying to get out of the woods. And they're just
it's
so
Christopher
out of their
and Paulie,
element.
right?
Yeah. And it's like, it couldn't be. It's such a delightful
Those are the
episode.
two perfect dudes, too.
Yeah,
to be
and it's
lost
like-
in the woods.
Yeah, it's like a bottle episode where it's like, this is just it's standalone. This is a problem they didn't anticipate, and we're going to stop everything for them to have to figure it out. It's delightful. Yeah, they find like an abandoned car and have to like sleep in it. And they're like crying and whining and they're so cold.
Oh, man. I need to
yeah.
watch The Sopranos.
Yeah, nature, man.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. You know that Jon Favreau's in The Sopranos, right?
No, but that checks out.
You know who he plays?
Mm-mm.
Himself.
Sure. That also
Let me make
checks
sure.
out.
Yeah, I'm almost certain it's Jon Favreau. I know it's I'm pretty. Someone's yelling at me right now.
That's
I'm
fine.
Googling it. Yeah. He's in The Sopranos. I think he plays himself. He plays a filmmaker.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm guessing it's himself.
So do we have any more thoughts about Mean Streets?
Well, I just want to say that it is in fact Jon Favreau as himself. Confirmed.
Sure.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Anything to say about Mean Streets? Let's see. Wise Guy versus Nature. I'm just looking for my notes. I really like that cop exchange where he was like, I'll give you car fare. And he's like, where you going? New Jersey. And he gives him, and he's like, actually, Philadelphia.
Yeah, we're going to Philadelphia. And he has to give him a little bit more money.
That was solid. The random part where he talks about coming blood in his dream.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
I was like, that feels Tarantino.
That's a dream you don't tell people.
Yeah.
Certainly not the person you were dreaming about having sex with.
Right. What was some of the other music? There was so many. There was so many
Rolling
songs
Stones.
where I was like, oh yeah.
Be My Baby.
God, yeah. Be My Baby. There's just a lot of like, oh yeah, this is all going to show up in later.
Yeah, it's all.
Yeah. That's what this movie feels like to me. It feels like Scorsese figuring out a lot of stuff that he's going to polish later.
Yeah, he even does the tracking shot, but they don't have a steady cam yet, so it's done handheld, but it's still done a couple of times where it's following Harvey Keitel through the club, and then there's they do it during the pool hall brawl where the camera's following right behind people as they're chasing each other around this room.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
I guess
funny.
that was going to be my final thought is like, if you really like Scorsese and you haven't seen this film, or if you just like Scorsese, if you're interested, it's very educational to watch in terms of...
It has enough of his technique in there, because a lot of his technique lies in making scenes where it's really just people having conversations, just really interesting and engaging. That's why I can sit there and watch The Irishman, even though it's 4 hours long and it's really just people talking.
Right. But early filmmaker stuff, I feel like going back and watching Duel, watching early directors
Duel
who are like...
is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, where you see, like, now they have every resource. There's something educational about it because you get to see, like, these, film geniuses figuring stuff out. What is that movie? The Following? Is that the...
Nolan?
The Killing. No, I'm thinking of The Killing. That's Kubrick's... Not his first movie, but a very early Kubrick.
Yeah.
That one always fascinated me because it doesn't look like him, but it also kind of looks like him. So, like, for that reason, this is a good movie and educational. I just think as a movie, I think it's too dated. Like, I think most people are going to watch this and be bored.
It is.
And
I could see people being, I mean, it kept I just... was delighted to watch De Niro playing a character he doesn't normally play.
Yeah, I'm just saying that not only will it make you bored, but I don't blame you, is I guess what I'm saying. Is that structurally, it's not great. Like, the structure of this film it's all leading up to one moment.
Basically.
It's almost like an art house in its structure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that it's there's nothing wrong with it. Obviously, it's made by Scorsese.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with it other than the portrayal of.
Yeah. There's some problematic content.
Yeah. I feel like even as like someone who's sort of Italian, quarter Italian, watching the portrayal of Italians, I'm like, oh, all right. I guess we do say a sometimes. I don't know.
We do say gabagoo.
Gabagoo. It's not as bad as Don Juan when it was a bunch of non-Italian actors.
At least these people are Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I going to say? Oh, I don't know. It's, I forgot what I was going to say. It's fine.
We were talking about, yeah. I don't think you have to go out of your way to see it unless you're a big Scorsese nut, and if you're a Scorsese nut, I feel like you've already seen it.
Yeah. It was, like I said at the top, I was surprised at how formed he kind of already is at this point. Like it is identifiably a Scorsese movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so Scorsese.
Yeah.
Because, well, I think here's the reason why is Scorsese in terms of technique, he doesn't really need much resources to do the things he does.
Yeah.
He needs a music budget.
Yeah, I read that over half of this movie's budget, or right around there, was just for the music. Again, like Clerks. Like
Clerks, yeah, you're right. God damn it, it's his Clerks.
It's his Clerks, yeah.
That's so weird.
I remember what I was going to say. There's a copy of The Godfather in Harvey Keitel's room.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. I had read that Coppola put some money into this movie.
Okay.
And then, of course, obviously De Niro goes to be in the sequel.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool little Easter egg.
Yeah, just a little copy of the book on his nightstand.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I had.
That's a neat fact.
There it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't regret watching it, obviously.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I'd been meaning, like, that was kind of part of our decision. You were like, I've been meaning to get around to Mean Streets.
Yeah, it's one of his... I'm far from having seen every one of his movies, but it's a director I enjoy, and it's one of these movies that I've just been meaning to watch for a long time.
His early work, man, I was looking at it, and this is what I realized, because I was like, nowadays he'll make like Hugo and shit, and he doesn't make children's movies, but you go back and there's like After Hours and Kings of Comedy, and it's just like, yeah, he was all over the place.
Raging Bull.
Always Raging Bull. He's never not been all over the place. We just always honed in on his crime stuff.
Yeah, his crime stuff, I think, tended to be his most financially successful, so that's the stuff that gets all the attention.
And then, of course, The Color of Money is one of my favorite early...
I always forget that's him.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing I don't realize about him. He made The Color of Money and Cape Fear. He's a studio director in a way. He's making sequels and remakes.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, we tend to, think of him as precious, but it's like, that's like directors now, where it's like, yeah, you want to do this remake of a horror film? And it's like, sure, why not? That's money, like it's weird to think about that he's doing like when Color of Money came out, you think film nerds were like, that doesn't need a sequel.
Probably.
Why would that need a sequel? Oh, and you got the Top Gun guy? What the fuck is this? And that movie's delightful. I love The Color of Money. But yeah, it's weird. It's just weird to think about his early career in those terms of like when it happened at the time. There's got to be film nerds who are like, you don't need to remake Cape Fear. The fuck? Who's going to replace Robert Mitchum? And the answer is Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Because of course.
Yeah. Who else?
Yeah.
Oh man. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Robert De Niro's like his Shia LaBeouf to his Michael Bay at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just sticking him in everything.
Fuck it, make a Transformers movie with all these old bastards in it. Throw Pacino and De Niro into a Transformers movie. I don't care. Make them the Transformers.
Just shuffling along.
Yeah.
Oh, I want it.
I don't have anything else to say about Mean Streets.
Hey, David Knife Boot Henson, thank you so much.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
This was through our Patreon, and if you're interested, you can go to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed, along with tiers where you can get your own We Just Watched episodes. We also have exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, and Fox Mulder is a Maniac, and Star Trek The Next Futurama, and we watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. We do all sorts of stuff on there. So, you want to check it out. You should check it out. you should go on the webpage.
Do those things. We also have a store, tpublic.com/store/gamefullyunemployed, where you can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. So check that out. Why don't
Check
you?
it out. Why don't you?
Why don't you?
A gabagoo.
Gabagoo.
I'm walking here. I'm walking over here.
I'm walking here.